Good morning, everybody. 8:10 a.m. Welcome to my channel. Now, yesterday, I failed to realize a member of my community reminded me that it was the end of the month, and I was like, "Oh my lord, end of the month!" And sometimes there's window dressing at end of the month, right? Managers, portfolio, whatever, want to have their numbers look pretty good for the month. And boy, did we get an overall breath move yesterday. The overall breath was the move yesterday. And your boy here tried to short that a couple of times. I definitely had I was ignoring my internals. It sometimes you just get it in your head because there was multiple supply. There was tech was down off the open, so I wasn't like the dumbest thing ever. However, I kept saying in my community when I was live, look at these ticks; they are not negative at all. And I know when that happens, even though we sold off initially, I know generally the market cannot go down. And I fought it. And I paid for it by taking three losses. It's just crazy how your brain can get that way. So that's what happened to me yesterday. Okay. And Apple had decent earnings. They're up this morning. Now, ironically, semis are down this morning. I don't know necessarily why, if it's profit taking or not, but that's what's going on. We have a new month. Now, the old saying is if you think about seasonality, it's sell in May and go away. So I think last May we went up. I don't quote me on that. And and sometimes in May it keeps going up until something happens in May. So I'm not gonna say short the market now. I'm just saying, okay, let's see what happens. All right, let's get into it. Welcome to. I just put that up. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steve Gonzalez. Use market profile and bond profile to find structure in the markets. Along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. Okay, when the market opens, I use market internals. Anchor view ups, a little ICT. Okay, smart money. And I use my weekly expected move indicator. Of course, I use gamma flip points, which you get for free in my Discord. And basically, I have my own system that I ignored yesterday, like you just heard. Okay, not perfect, right? Not a robot. Wish I was, but I'm not. All right, so we got my own system going on there, which told me market should go higher. All right, now every morning I do this. Hopefully you subscribe, set that alert. All right, join me every morning, give you the market story, the economic calendar, the market news, leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I always leave you with the ES and the Nasdaq long and short trade scenarios at the end of the stream. Okay, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Now, that was probably yesterday my worst trading day in a little while. All right, you can see on my Discord I have a performance recap of every week. I've been positive every week for a little bit. I have to see the numbers after this week. I had a pretty big trade the previous day. Market's ripping up right now. I had a pretty big, and I almost took it all back with that stupid tunnel vision yesterday. So we'll have to see. Okay, how today transpires. Who knows what's going to happen today? We're hitting all-time highs right now in the ES. We're just breaking out. I don't know if there's positive news came out. There must have been. There must have been something that just came out because we're just at all-time highs in the ES, not in the Nasdaq yet, but markets are catching a bid right now, and I don't know why. All right, we'll figure that in a little bit. Moving on. Futures watch list here. All right, Bitcoin is your leader this morning, up 1.65%, followed by Ethereum up 1.41, Silver's up 0.77, Dow's up 0.46, ES up 0.33, 30-year bonds are being bought, should send you lower. Russell's up 0.30, Nasdaq is flat. Remember, Nasdaq is flat. Semis are the laggard this morning. Dollar is down slightly, down 0.16. 10-year yield is down 0.5%. Gold is down 0.72. VIX down 1%. Crude is down 1.65%. Okay. Moving on, Max Evans. There's your Apple up 3.5% after earnings. Coinbase up 0.87. Nvidia up 0.86. Microsoft up 0.73. Eli Lilly up 0.52. Now, laggards today, Broadcom down over 0.5%, Amazon down 0.64, and AMD is down almost 1%. It's top sectors. Salesforce is up 2.31%, Oracle up 2.30, Palantir up 1.893. So maybe software, I think, possibly getting some love this morning. Okay. GE Vernova up over 0.5%, and your laggard today is Qualcomm. Qualcomm had a monster day yesterday, so maybe a little profit taking. It's barely down. Sectors. Financials leading up 0.40, technology up 0.27, utilities up 0.26, staples up 0.23. Your laggard today is semiconductors, almost down 0.5%. It was down more than that earlier. Okay? So let's get over to the economic calendar for today. Okay. So today we have ISM manufacturing PMI, ISM manufacturing employment at 10 a.m. Of course, 10 a.m. Now, sometimes you can get a trade off before that, but if I don't, I'm going to wait till the dust to settle after these numbers come out. Okay, moving on. Let's see. Okay, here's the news that just came out. All right, it says Iran delivered on Thursday to U.S. through the Pakistani mediators its response to the latest U.S. amendments on the agreement to the end of war. It says an Iranian diplomatic source told Al Jazeera Tehran presented a new proposal yesterday to the Pakistan media. So that's just a proposal. We don't know what's in it. Okay? We don't know. Okay? We don't know. Trump schedule. Let's see today, May 1st. I don't see anything here that's going to tell us anything. Let's get into some news. Let's see if there's any. All right. Apple had good margin guidance. That's why it's up. Let's go. Apple shares rise on strong quarterly sales in the run-up to CEO change. Exxon beats first quarter earnings. Chevron's upstream strength lifts first quarter earnings. Moderna tops quarterly revenue estimates on stronger international COVID vaccine sales. SpaceX spending on Starship tops $15 billion. Let's get a little better in here. S&P and Dow futures ticked higher after the indexes posted their biggest monthly gain in years as a string of strong earnings offset concerns around a historic supply shock in oil markets. Later in the day, investors will await manufacturer PMI. Okay. All right. That's about it for there, folks. Today I'm going to give you a little express version because I have to take my daughter to the bus this morning. So, what are we going to look at now? If we have time, we'll get into some other stuff. I'm going to go over it really quickly internally of what yesterday meant. Okay. Go to the market internals recap. Now, this thing grew from seeing the market was chopping right here. It's choppy because the market internals, and then equal weight just started taking off. Now, when equal weight leads, it's not the most bullish sign. Okay, that means RSP yesterday had a big day, right? But yesterday, see, technology was discretionary was weak all day until really about here, and they still was slightly off the open. Everything else was up strong. Everything else was up strong, and these ticks, when I mean they were painting green, see, you're seeing some red here, but all day when you see that, even when the market sold off initially, even when this happened, even when that happened, and I was sitting there going, all right, I'm going to wait. My first short should have been my only attempt, but then I was like convinced, like I told you. Okay, let's get into dailies. Alrighty, so you can see we had a bounce here. We broke out yesterday with that overall breadth move. Okay, that was Friday's close, and we were playing with that a lot, and last week's highs. Okay, then the market just had so much strength, it pushed higher. Where is it now? 721. We are gapping up. Okay, futures. Okay, you can see in futures, look at that. We came, remember that demand zone I was talking about? or the range. This is the range. Okay, this was the range. I'm sorry. We came right there and bought up, right? And now look, that white line means last month's highs, which means yesterday's highs, but right, but it is last month now. And we're like pushing higher. Now, if the overall breadth gets another kick up today, yeah, we'll probably rip into the weekend. So let's just see. Qs. Now, the Qs were relatively weaker yesterday. Look at the pullback. And then got bought, right? And then in futures, I was like so close to pulling along later in the day. I was just waiting for the pullback. I did get it, and I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna like if I take another loss, so I didn't. And of course, it would have worked, but all-time highs. Okay, where are we now? 668. See, so we're not gapping up yet, and we're not above yesterday's highs yet because the weakness in semis. Okay, futures. Look at this. Oof. Okay, here's futures. Now that was last week's highs, right there. See, we got a kind of a doji, right? So let's see what we do in the Nasdaq. Now, money's been flowing into Qs, semis, for a while. Okay? In the breadth, let's look at the breadth. Improved yesterday. So 55%, let's call it 56% of stocks over the 50-day moving average. This is still middling. It's not crazy. It's not crazy, okay? I just want to show you one thing right here. So I have RRG script, tells you the rotations. I just did it from 413. If you look at 413, it's kind of like our last base before we ripped higher. This is all the main sectors. Look. Now this shows the last 5 days momentum, so you can see the momentum has weakened a little bit. But energy is the only sector out of all the other sectors. You see how all the other sectors were not participating from 413? They were not participating. Energy got some love, right? But semis was up 14.3%. At the same time, SPY was only up 4.7. This is why most likely a little bit people might be rotating out a little bit of semis and tech. So pretty interesting. Okay, pretty interesting. Now we're gonna move on. Hourlies, and there's not much to really talk about per se. All right, let's go to the hourlies. This was just crazy because there was so much supply. When we were like in here, right? When we came in here, I was like, there's last week's highs. This is where we struggled and struggled and struggled. Right? I'm sorry, right here. Struggled. We struggled. Right? And then all of a sudden it unleashed the beast. Shh, boom, boom, boom. Right? And then, obviously, we're at all-time highs right now. So really, the only thing I'm going to say about this is, let me get my marker out. Now the momentum's clearly, the bulls have never lost momentum. They never have. Okay. So now what we have here is poor structure. This bullish FEG area, okay, needs to be protected. All right, and even if we come back in and touch it and we go and it's supportive, that's bullish. However, if something comes out and we break this swing low, that swing low is 72.46s. This happens to be the most traded price of yesterday, also 72.44. So that area is very key for the market to find support. You don't really want to lose that, because then that's going to put this structure in question and we can rip through this. Remember, this is single prints. This is just, it's imbalance, okay? If it's support, it's bullish. If the market's weak, it will rip through this like no one's business, like a hot knife through butter. I'm not saying that happens today. I'm just saying be aware of it. This supply zone no longer exists. Now you have another demand zone here. Okay, it's probably going to be, let's see, let's just do it. I'm going to start, I don't know if it will be a 4 hour. 4 hour, I don't think so. It's going to be probably a 3 hour. Yep, real 3 hour, it's not closed yet. But I'm going to put that preliminary here. So that's a demand now. Okay. Let's go back to the hourly. Okay, so that new explosion becomes demand zone. So this area becomes very key. Okay, if you get a pullback. All right. Bulls have momentum, folks. Definitely have momentum. All right, let's go for the NASDAQ. Remember, the semis are down this morning. You could just see it in the charts, right? Like, look, this is yesterday's overnight highs. We're right there. We're right there. We're back. We have supply. We're in supply. So you notice the semis are weighing a little bit on tech. On the NASDAQ 100. On NASDAQ futures, same thing, right? And what did we do here? Now, right here, you have a big bullish FEG, which has single prints as well. Remember, it's an imbalance. Starts about 27541s. 27541s, right? Look what just happened. Came into the imbalance and found support. It's bullish. Okay, it's bullish. You also now have a demand zone here. So let's add that to the chart. Okay, so now you have a demand zone there. Now, this could cause choppiness until another move happens. Now, semis could catch a bid off the open, and then we could explode up and see that's yesterday's. It's the overnight highs made all-time highs. We probably might tag that again. Now, again, semis sometimes can be weak off the open, and then guess what? People go, oh, a little dip, and you buy it. So this level here that you want to hold is 27542s in the NASDAQ. Now, notice the NASDAQ only has one bullish FEG on the way up. The ES has two. The ES yesterday was stronger. Okay, S&P 500 was stronger because it was an overall market breadth move. Real estate, industrial, staples, financials, healthcare, communication, they all were moving except technology and discretionary. They were not strong. Okay, moving on. We're going to go to mark profile, volume profile. Alrighty. This is your market profile, volume profile. Beautiful charts. I know if you're new, it might look like hieroglyphics, but it's not. All it is, a market profile, is 30-minute, they call them TPOs, but just think of it 30-minute bars. Watch, I'm going to open it up. All it is 30-minute bars. These are 30-minute bars. That's all it is. And then when you make it into a profile, it makes it into a profile. That's all it is. Nothing else. And it's vertical. Right? It's vertical. I love it. I love it. I love it because this shows me the overnight activity. This shows me yesterday. Okay? Remember the level I said, 72.45. That happens to be the close. It happens to be the most traded price of yesterday. It happens to be the overnight lows. You can't lose that. Okay? Now, you can momentarily lose it, go into this bullish FEG. You can, and then get bought. We all know nothing moves perfectly. Some lines are elastic. They can go whoop, boom, and then you get bought, right? That's why I'm saying a lot of times when you have levels like this, I'll have to find acceptance. Acceptance means time spent below it. Because if it briefly goes here and hits, it didn't find acceptance, right? So let's get into the long and short scenarios in the ES. Okay, let's break out the session. 2 bars, right? Okay, so we got a fairly balanced profile in the overnight. Now, one thing to note, here's the open. Notice there's no short activity, barely any. I would call that 100% net long. Now, we're at the top of the session. This sometimes becomes a little edge. And if we move up a little higher, why I'm saying that is weak hands are overnight hands. Okay, they don't move markets. So you could open up and just drive right down here, and that could be a nice scalp short. Now it's a very hard trade, but usually this plays out. Okay, usually when you're 100% net long overnight and the market moves up, one little move back happens to longs to liquidate. And it doesn't mean it's bearish. It just means that, all right, let's overnight players take the profits. It's kind of what that means. Okay, so we're gapping up. Now, first thing we do, mark off gap fill, 72.51s. That's yesterday's highs. That lines up with the demand zone, right? That's what we just put on the chart. Now, the next thing you want to do is go back to the 50% retracement of yesterday, 72.04. Okay, everybody knows these levels. And of course, the 72.45s is our line in the sand today. Okay, now what I'm going to start with is longs. They have the momentum. By far, they have the momentum, right? So, what do I want to see? Okay, I am not going to chase a gap and go. Will not do it. Okay, so if the market pushes up off the open, makes all-time highs in the regular trading hours, I want a pullback, okay, into this demand, into the area of the 72.45s, okay? Gap fill. So you hit the gap fill, you might hit 72.45 bounce. If you get a higher low, you take that long and you target either the high a day or the overnight highs. And you just hold on and hopefully we trend into the weekend. Okay? Okay? So, now, number two. Remember I said the 72.45 level is very important. Okay? 72.45 is very important. Now, here's the key. Remember I said about acceptance. If this market moves very quickly down, breaks the 72.45, finds support in the first bullish FEG. Okay? It's also single prints in the market profile. If it finds support quickly and you get a little bit of a higher low, you take that long. Okay? You go to the high a day and try to hold into the close. Okay? I want this to be quick. I don't want bears to get momentum. Okay? This is when you don't find acceptance below 72.45. I want it to be quick. Okay? Really, that's what I'm interested in. Optimally. Now, the last one I would say, and would not be crazy about it, is we do gap and go, right? And let's just say the market moves up and like create some volume up at the top of the session, right? And then you get one pullback. And let's just say the market's very strong. That, my friends, will be the long. And you go off into all-time high Neverland. I don't want to really trade that, but that might be the only option, and I might just call it call it a day if I'm seeing this and it's just a barcode. I preferably like to have this happen before 11 o'clock or something. Okay. So that's my longs. We're going to go to shorts now. And this is not an easy trade. Okay. Now we talked about the edge that I have when you see 100% net long inventory in the overnights. Okay. Not an easy trade. So what would I want to see, right? Is I want to see a gap and go. Open up, boom. If you come through the open and you get that lower high, I would say with a little bit of weakness, you're going to find yourself at 72.45. I would say take your profits. Now, this is where you don't know what will happen. If internally, people are taking profits, it's May, sell May and go away. Let's just say people are like, okay. Now, this could get pretty ugly. So what do I say about 72.45? You need to find acceptance underneath this level, right? Time, maybe a half hour close, an hourly close preferably would be acceptance. This puts all this poor structure in question. And all you need is for tech and everybody to start going, all right, let's take some profits. My friends, you can clear all this poor structure up. And I would say you could go down to at least the 72.04s. 50% retracement yesterday. Back inside last week's, well, not last week. Yes, last week's range. That's last week's high, 7,200. Do I think that will happen? I don't know. But I do know 72.45 is very pivotal. Okay? Now, conservatively, okay, I just gave you this whole one. Number 2 is let's see if 72.45 finds acceptance underneath it. If it does, if you retest 72.45, I would say it's a viable short if the market starts to continue getting weak, and then you can clean it up. Okay, target 7,200, 72.04. Okay. NASDAQ. Remember, NASDAQ, is semi still weak? Semis are still weak, not really crazy weak. Okay, you could see we're not even gapping up in the NASDAQ. See, we're not even gapping up. And you have a balanced profile. You are not 100% net long in the NASDAQ. You are not 100% long. Okay? Very interesting. Supply has not been broken. Remember I said it's relatively weak this morning. Okay? Let's break it out. Okay. Let's get into the long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ futures. Alrighty. This is very middling. Okay? You're at the midpoint of your overnight. You're in between a supply and a demand zone. Overnight VPOC is right here. Okay? Overnight VPOC is right here. You have key resistance. Notice yesterday's highs with 27624s. The overnight high previous to that was 27623s. They were very equal. And then the market in the overnight broke it. Right? Can we go higher? Okay, I don't know. I really don't. We really have to see with semis and how tech performs today. Remember, I just showed you money flowed into tech a lot. Remember, the overall markets were not really pushing higher. It was tech and semis. Okay? Parabolic moves like semis don't last forever. Now, AMD had quite the recovery. Okay? Quite the recovery. Okay. So, let's get into it. Now, even though I'm saying it's relatively weaker, you still pretty much have to lean on the long side. Okay? Let's get into right here, the long side. So, long scenarios in the NASDAQ futures. Okay, number 1, right? We don't have to worry about a gap fill. Okay? We have demand. We have a bullish FEG starting around 275.3 or 40s. Let's give you the exact. Yeah, 275.41s. That's where the bullish FVG starts, and you have demand here. So, right? So, what the only level I'm going to mark off is you have ultimate balance here at around the 274s. So, you want to be cognizant of ultimate balance, and that's really the line in the sand in the more macro picture. As long as it holds that, it's bullish. Okay? As long as it holds that, it's bullish. So what do I want to see? A pullback. So one or two ways could happen. It can go into supply, sell off, and what would I like to see? You have an equal low right here in demand. So even if you take this out, boop, you go right into bullish FVG. You see the single prints here. Remember, single prints or an FVG is an imbalance. If there's support there, that is bullish. Get a higher low, you go long. You target all-time highs, and the overnight high is 27673. And then you try to ride that into the sunset. Okay? You ride that into the sunset. Now, the other play could be a really quick move down. All right, really quick move down. So I would like to see this. Boom, right down here into ultimate balance. Guess what? Another demand zone and a big, big level. This would be to be quick for me. If I get a bounce, whoop, a retest, put it in a higher low. All right, that's also last week's highs is 27462s. Then you ride that. Okay. That's, and you can see that either could be the current high a day that you break, or just go for the all-time high at 27673 and see what kind of momentum you're getting. Okay, as I'm speaking, semis are getting a little more weaker, hence the Nasdaq's pushing down a little bit, right? Okay. Now, shorts. I'd say a little easier to come by if semis hold down, okay? Look, came into supply, you're getting selling, right? So what would I like to see here for a short? Got some equal highs up here. Okay, around the 2762s, 2 zeros. So, a couple things. Preferably, I'd like to get the market to push up, boom. Go into this supply, maybe even have to make new all-time highs. But then quickly reject it. Get a lower high. Now you target, at this point, that would be 27535, the overnight lows. It might be the low day as well. And see if there's momentum and there was weakness in the market. Because remember, this bullish FEG is also poor structure. And the single prints show that here, right? That's one-way trading. It's an emotional buying here. And what I would say the ultimate target would be a 274, the ultimate balance level. That won't be easy to really cut through. Okay? Not easy. I don't think this is an easy trade at all. Probably the only one I might be interested in. But I would have to say, I want to be more long today. Unless the market tells me otherwise. Okay? Now, if you break this, could you just all of a sudden go crazy and go, uh-oh, we're in May? Maybe. And you can target the 271s. I don't know. All right? I just know bulls have momentum. That is it, folks. Now, let me give you my overall market thesis today. Okay? So, end of the month, happened yesterday. Possibly window dressing, right? Overall breadth had money flowing into it, right? ES is still gapping up, okay? ES is still gapping up. Now, we are in May. Seasonally, May is bearish. Sell in May and go away. That's only a data point. It doesn't mean you just short the market. That's just a data point. Okay? The overall breadth is still middling, even though the overall breadth had 1 day of buying, right? So, the bulls have momentum. They definitely do. Okay? They definitely have momentum. Remember, the key level in the ES is 72.45. You just want to see the markets hold that. And remember, it can temporarily go down below it, but as long as it goes right back above it, bullish. It is bullish. Okay, bulls have momentum. Remember, acceptance below 72.45, and you see, and if I see internals that are like, whoa, these are not strong, that might change my mind. However, we'll have to see what transpires. Now, the NASDAQ, remember, this morning is relatively weaker. Yesterday, relatively weaker because money was not flowing into technology yesterday. Not as much. If you look at if you look at from the open, okay, the market drove lower off the open and only came back really to the open. If you look at the XLK, all right. Now, today, you want to see the NASDAQ defend around the 275.30 area. Okay? That's what you want to see. Remember, it's relatively weak. It's not even gapping up. Why is that? Semis are down over 0.5% right now. And again, that doesn't mean we sell off. It just means that, ooh, okay, it's relatively weaker right now. Maybe, like I showed you earlier in the rotations of the market, so much money went into semis and technology, and all the other sectors were not moving. Now, I don't know if people are going to take profits in semis in tech today. I don't know that. It's a big part of the market, though. Okay? So, with that being said, it's a new month. We're going into the weekend. Bulls have momentum. I'd say the easiest play today is probably longs. And sometimes it's hard if you get a sharp pullback to go, uh-oh, is this it? Is this the short? And then what happens usually is one pullback gets bought, and then we might just ride and trend up the rest of the day and have a continuation day into Friday's close. But this is the market. We never know what's going to happen. Okay? Now, everybody, that is it for me. Smash the like button if you enjoy that analysis. That would help my channel out tremendously. Okay? Now, hopefully you join me every day. Subscribe, set that alert. I give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, leaders and laggards. Basically why the market's doing what it's doing. And I give you technical analysis, okay? And I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios of the NASDAQ and the ES futures. Okay? Bulls have momentum. Bulls have momentum. Okay? It's very hard to fight it. Even yesterday, what did we do? We took and sold off from balance highs. Generally, you do not recover that. Usually you go down to the other side of balance. Okay? Well, the market said, well, we're not doing that today. Okay? So bulls have momentum. Okay? Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. In my Discord, you do get gamma flip points for free. You do get the Thinkorswim weekly expected move indicator for free. Okay? When you get that weekly expected move indicator, 70% of the time the markets trade in that range. Okay, 70% of the time. So when markets are outside of those areas, okay, they generally don't go much farther. Now, today, if I'm looking at my charts, I see Google has exceeded its expected move. I see Meta went down to its expected move and got bought up. Just trying to see what else here. That's what I see right now. Okay? That's what I see right now. And I'm just giving you the basis on the expected move indicator. I run that via the options chain, via a Python script. Okay? And I share that with you guys in my Discord each week. Okay? Each week. All right? So everybody, hopefully you guys have a great weekend. Now remember, today is bulls have momentum. And remember, no trade's a trade. Now, I had a day yesterday where I ignored my internals. And generally, it's not a smart thing to ignore that. Even though I recognized it, my mind was set on shorting. And sometimes you just get blind and you want to be right on your thesis, and it shouldn't move higher, but it did, right? So follow your process. And everybody's going to make mistakes. You got to give yourself grace. I'm not at the best. I'm not at the best of giving myself grace. I would say I pretty much handled yesterday pretty good. I didn't think about it much. I usually will think about it. I'll lament about it all day and go like this, what are you doing? That was stupid. Beat myself up, but I just gave myself grace better than I've ever had probably before, because that's probably the worst day I've had in a little bit. Okay? So, everybody, have a great day. Now, hopefully you come to my Discord. Okay? Ask questions. But if you don't, I'll see everybody back in here Monday morning. All right? Take it easy, everybody.